So welcome to the Spiritual Hour with myself, Graywolf Psychic Medium. Today we're on episode 9. Now today's topic is about mediumship, but can mediumship be taught or is it a gift? So let's get into it. I want to talk about people that I've worked with, people that I've connected with, students that I've worked with too. So in my opinion, we all are born with an ability of some sort to connect with spirit. My interpretation is we can all play football, but we're not all very good at it. But we would have the ability to play football, of course. Mediumship's the same, in my own opinion. And my opinion is that we all have the ability to learn how to connect, but some will be better than others. Now, think of it like this. If you go to the gym once a week, you can't expect results. Unless you put in the work in, you're not going to get what you want out of it, are you? Of course. So it's no different with our psychic work, our mediumship work, understanding our psychic gifts. It's no different. First, we have to understand what psychic abilities that we have. Once we understand which ones we have to then learn how to use them and how to understand them, most importantly. Now, this will start through things like meditations. So meditations is a great way to start understanding whether you can hear, feel, see, smell, taste, or just know. I particularly recommend guided meditations for this. So if you are doing guided meditations, you might start to realize that some people can see very, very clearly through their third eye, which is here, the images in your mind for those that don't know. And some people may say, I don't see anyone there, Carl, but I can feel their presence around me, which tells me then that rather than being clairvoyant, they may be clairsentient. So they may start off with gifts of feeling. And so what that would be like for people is that they would sometimes be around crowds, groups of people, etc., and sometimes feel really, really overwhelmed and not always understand why. They may be picking up on the people's energy that's living around them, or even the spirit's energy that's connecting to them. So there could be a few reasons why someone feels overwhelmed all the time, particularly around a lot of people or a lot of energies. So my feeling on this, of whether it can be taught, is my opinion is that yes, it can be taught. I've had several students now, too many to even remember, several students that I've connected with that have come into my mediumship development classes with absolutely zero experience. And by the end of the 6-week course, they've walked away being able to put together a reading. Now, what do I mean by that? So what I mean by that is through the techniques that I use in the way that I teach mediumship, by understanding the students understanding how to connect to the spirit firstly, how to ask certain questions, which I call structure in a reading, and by asking specific questions, you'll start to get specific answers. Again, working with students and obviously getting validation from sitters on a weekly basis, this also helps as well to build the confidence up of the reader. So week by week, they're given these little bits of information that they see, feel, or hear. And at the end of the class, obviously, we validate all the information, which again gives them that sort of boost and the confidence to move forward. So by the course of the end of the 6-week course, most of them walk away with the toolkit, which I call a basic toolkit after 6 weeks. So they have the knowledge of being able to not only know how to connect with spirit, to blend with spirit, learning how to meditate, which is something that we do too, learning how to ask questions, but also get specific answers, which by getting specific answers also can make you what people call an evidential medium. So providing specific evidence, from the loved ones in spirit to pass on to the person that you're reading for. There's tons and tons and tons of people out there that are walking around with this gift that they probably don't realize that they've got. I was one of those people. When my spiritual awakening happened around 10 years ago, I had absolutely no idea that I was a medium. I wasn't surrounded by any psychics or any mediums, so I had no idea there was even a thing. We all have these conversations. Do we believe in the afterlife? Do we believe in ghosts? All this other stuff. And just like me, I'd have been this person that sat on the fence, didn't really know what to think. But this will answer one of your questions. Some of you that were thinking, come on. So, do you ever go sleep at night and ever see faces in your mind? As soon as you close your eyes, boom, you get face after face after face. Some of the faces you may recognize, some of the faces you may not. But did you know that this could be clairvoyance? Did you know that these faces that you're seeing could be ancestors or connecting to you or around you in some way? So this is something to bear in mind. You may not realize that you have a gift, but there could be a gift there within you. You may also find that you have like a vibrational sound in your ear, like a high vibration sound in your ears, like a humming or a ringing. And again, making sure that you've got no tinnitus or high cortisol, etc., etc. As long as there's no medical issues, the next question would be, are you hearing energy? If the answer is yes, then there's a good chance that spirits are trying to communicate with you. If you're hearing that sound, that vibrational sound, there's a good chance that there's somebody in the spirit world that's trying to connect with you. So whether it's one of your spirit guides, whether it's one of your spirit family, that sound is the sound of when spirits are coming in, when they're around you in some way. And this is kind of like one of those moments where the dogs prick their ears up and they kind of feel something or sense something. It's the same for us. It's that kind of feeling of taking notice, having awareness, and asking the next question in your mind. You don't have to even have to say it out loud. Who is my communicator? Who is trying to communicate with me? And at that point, if you are a clairvoyant, you may see somebody in your mind. For some of you, you might start to get an answer inside your head. It may be a name of somebody you know. It may be somebody that you don't know. Now, sometimes we do get spirits that come through that we don't actually know. For instance, our great grandmas, our great granddads, our great uncles, great aunties, and so on. Why do they come through? Because they're part of our soul family. They're part of our spirit family. And they're people that also want to connect with us and guide us too. Because at one point, we was all up there together. And again, they want to watch over us and guide us too. So yes, they can come through. So when you're seeing these faces or getting names of people that's in your ancestry line, there's a good chance that they are trying to connect with you or pass on some sort of information to you for some reason. You may also find, like for myself, I used to struggle quite a lot with anxiety really, really badly. Being around people's energy quite a lot, I would really, really struggle. I still do in places like supermarkets and places like that. When there's too many people around me, too much energy around me, it feels just so overwhelming. You could be one of those people too. Do you find that when you go to a supermarket or a built up place, you just feel like, oh, got to get out of here? It's just too much for me. Do you ever feel like that? I mean, the reason I'm asking these questions here is because you could also be a medium in some way and not realize that you are. You could be a psychic or you could be a medium. There is a difference between the two. A medium connects with spirit and a psychic can read the living people, living situations around you. That's the difference, okay? So if you're picking up on, let's say, a partner's energy, a sister's energy, a brother's energy that's all living, a friend's energy, it could be anything like that, okay? And you're picking up on that, and they're all living, that would be like a psychic energy of sorts. If you're picking up on someone that's on the other side, that is what we call a mediumship reading, a spirit reading. And so that's the difference between the two. So it will help you to understand what you're picking up. Now, after all, everything is energy. Absolutely everything. I'm energy, those in spirit are energy, and everything around you that you see is energy. So it's important to understand that all these different things that you're feeling, they're energies. And it's having awareness of what those energies are and how you interpret what that energy means to you. So there'll be people out there right now, probably listening to this podcast right now, asking themselves, well, am I psychic? Am I medium? Do I have the ability? Now, chances are that the answer to that question is yes. There's a good chance that if you was to practice with your psychic senses, it may be something that you open up as a gift for yourself. One way to find out, on my YouTube page or on Spotify, wherever you're watching this, there is some meditations on there that you can go to. There's one where you can meet a loved one in spirit, it's a guided meditation, and there's also another one where you can go to the Crystal Cave for healing meditation, again, guided by myself. Through visualization, this will start to help to open up your third eye. For those that don't see very well, you might start to see more and more and more. So my opinion is that yes, connecting to the other side can be something that can be taught. I don't believe that you have to just be born with this gift. Now, obviously, now I'm 48 years old, and I didn't have my awakening until 10 years ago. Now, I had other things happening, of course I did, in the past, but did I know it was spirit? No, I didn't. But because I was probably too young or too immature back then, I didn't really take any notice of it. It was only later in life where I started to ask myself, what is going on? What is going on? Like I'm seeing these things, I'm hearing these things, like it was kind of crazy. So you have to ask yourself, what is it that's been going on around you? What have you been feeling? What have you been sensing? Do you ever see coloured orbs? Do you ever see little balls of energy floating around your house? They can be white, they can be gold, they can be pink, they can be blue. So again, it's just a ball of energy. Okay, so it's usually the smallest form that spirit shows itself. Okay, that's one way that you may see spirit. Another way that you might see spirit is when you see shadows going past you. Okay, and so I call that the shadow people, but it's just spirit showing themselves in another form. And there is ways to tell the difference. They could be tall, which you know that it's likely to be an adult, and they could be quite short, and then you get an idea that it's most likely a child, and they could be even smaller, which tells you that it's most likely an animal. So these are different ways to help to understand what type of person or animal is coming through by the size of them. Okay, some of you might see white flashes out the corner of your eyes. Maybe tickle my eye now. White flashes out the corner of your eyes. That might be something that you see too. Again, somebody might be trying to get your attention. Your spirit guides, your angels, they could be trying to get your attention. You could be seeing all of these things, but you're just not taking notice. And sometimes they'll throw you many more signs for you to eventually take notice till you get to the point like they did with me, Carl, and they started shaking me literally. But they get you to a point where, because you've not necessarily took the first sign, they have to send you more stronger signs for you to take notice. You may be somebody that sees angel numbers all the time. For instance, you might see 333, 222, 444. You might see 1212, just as an example, 1111. So you might be seeing these as well. Again, these are angel number messages. They carry frequency, they carry messages. If you're never sure of what they mean, you can always go onto Google and type in the angel number meaning of, and this will help you. But this tells you as well that you are getting guidance from above, you're getting signs from above, and they're also trying to help you in some way. Question is, who? And this is where you have to ask, who is my communicator? Who is sending me these messages? And again, you can take yourself through guided meditations to help you learn to connect. Now, for some of you out there, you might kind of go, I've got a bit of a fear with this. I know lots of people like that too. I've got a bit of a fear. And over time, we learn to overcome this fear. We have to ask, what are we fearful of? Okay, what is it that we're fearful of? Are we fearful of connecting with this side? Are we fearful that something might happen, something may go wrong? Never happened. Gotta say, never happened to any of my students. When we connect to this divine source and we connect to the other side, it is pretty much why they use the terminology love and light, because they send us these energies of help and assistance because they don't like to see us struggling. And if they can help us in some way, they'll give us some sort of information and guidance to help us move forward. And so maybe you're getting messages that you've just not taken notice of. Maybe you are a medium or a psychic and you just don't know it. Maybe you're someone that has all of these signs, but for whatever reason, fear might be holding you back. But then you have to ask yourself, what have you got to lose? By connecting to this energy, this source, maybe this was part of your soul purpose. Maybe your soul purpose was to awaken and to help other people on the journey too. You may be a healer already. You may be a Reiki healer or a spiritual healer, but for some reason you've not gone down the line of mediumship just yet. You may be thinking of going down that line, but just not sure where to go, where to turn. There may be a local spiritual church or group in your area, or again, you can do them online, something that I do. For those interested, they can contact me through my socials for any inquiries. But I do 6-week courses on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you are in the world. It's something that I can help you bring the best out of your psychic senses and help you to understand, firstly, which ones that you've got, and secondly, how to use them. Now, it's not a matter of going, you've got this one, and you've got that one, and you've got that one. It's kind of not like that. It's through techniques that I use and get you to do that help you to understand when you're connecting, you may be saying, I'm seeing this, I'm hearing that, and I'm feeling this. This will help to go, well, I saw something and I heard something and I felt something. So tick, tick, tick. Some people might go, I didn't see anything, but I felt and I heard. Okay, so tick, tick. Through the techniques that I use, it will help you to understand which gifts are your strongest, which gifts we can work on and make stronger, and to help you to understand how you can use those gifts, because a lot of people out there think it's a different way to what it actually is. I have to say it. I've seen mediums look to the side like they're talking to spirit there. But spirit's never been there for me. They've always been there because we blend with their energy. So we blend as one. So I see them looking there, but they're not there. They're there. So when you start seeing things like that, for instance, there will be some people out there that may see it in that way, but as a medium, the way that I work, we blend with the energy. The energy becomes one, we connect with that energy, and we work with that energy. So I'm not looking to the side. You'll notice I'm always looking up and visualizing even when I'm talking or when I'm connecting to spirit. Some people may also think that the way that you hear spirit is the way that you hear me. And that's not always the case. Now, for some mediums, yes, they do. They hear externally. But for other mediums, we hear internally. So inside your head. So it'll be like a word inside your head, like when your partner has upset you in some way in your head, you kind of go away kind of thing in your head. It's kind of like that. Sometimes you might get an accent. Sometimes it might sound like your own voice. But it's not the way that sometimes people think that it is. Okay. Again, with the feeling, we can pick up these different things on our body, aches, pains, sensations, hot spots, cold spots, cramps, feelings around the chest. And these are all ways of spirit saying to us of their physical ailments in some way, shape, or form. So whenever you may be connecting to someone and you start to feel something on your body, you've got to ask yourself that, are you feeling something that connects to them? Okay. If they passed with, say, heart conditions, do you get a strange feeling in your chest? If they were someone that maybe had issues with the legs, do you get a strange feeling in your legs? So again, this is to feel. So there'll be lots of people out there that have the opinion that you're born with this, okay? There was a natural born medium, etc., etc., and some of them will say that they're second generation or third generation, etc., etc. But I want to say to you that there's many people out there that have the ability that just don't know. They just don't know that they are a walking medium. Inside you, you are the creator. Okay, you are the creator. You create everything around you, within you, etc., etc. You are the creator. When we learn that we all have these gifts about us, some gifts will be stronger, of course, and some will be less. No medium is exactly the same. We don't all hear the same. We don't all feel the same. We don't all see the same. For instance, I'm a medical intuitive. I see images of the body or inside the body or like an X-ray. Not all mediums see like that. Other ones may see in a different way. So we're not all the same. We learn to work with what becomes our path in this journey, and we've all got a certain path to work. Some of us may want to connect with angels, for example. Some of us may connect with the spirits. Some of us may just be psychic readers for whatever reason. So you have to understand that your purpose may be something that you've just not discovered yet. You may feel lost on your path. You may not understand what your path is, what your purpose is. You kind of might not think that you don't know what you're doing with your life right now, and you're kind of feeling lost and you're not really sure which direction to go. It's something that you have to ask yourself, what is your sole purpose? And some of you may get an answer. Some of you may need to go into a meditation, connect with your spirit guides, and start to find out what is your sole purpose. We don't all necessarily understand what it is when we start. I remember when I found out mine, and after my awakening and connecting with my guides, and I just remember the voice, how it came through. I have never heard it so clear. And he turned round and he said to me, "You don't realize how powerful you are." And he said, "You're a healer." And I thought, I don't know what he means. Like, I don't know what he means. At that time, I had no knowledge. I had no knowledge of, Reiki healer, spiritual healer, psychic or medium. I knew nothing about it. But then you start to realize that you can heal in more than one way, whether it's through the Reiki or the spiritual healing, or whether it's through the messages that you give to other people. But at that time, it seemed really confusing. But it meant that I had to put a lot of time and commitment and dedication into what I was going to do. So I was doing several classes every single week. I was doing at least 3, 4 classes every single week at my local spiritual church until I got to the point where I felt like I'd learned everything that I possibly could from where I was at. And then I started to walk a different path and look at different avenues and different options. But you have to ask yourself, where does your journey start? Your journey may start right here, right now. It may have started the minute that you clicked on this episode of the podcast, or even the first episode, episode 1. Your journey might have started there. You might start realizing that everything that I'm talking about may also relate or connect to you in some way. And you may be sitting there thinking, I wonder if I can do it. There's only one way to find out. And if you really, really want to find out, you need to go over to my meditations and give them a try. I have had so many people through all my social pages. My meditation is not just on Spotify and YouTube. It's on Facebook and TikTok and Instagram, blah, blah, blah. The amount of people that have connected to them and left comments on them is absolutely unbelievable. And I would say a good 70 to 80% have had a positive experience where they've gone, I felt something, I felt my mum, I felt this, I felt that. They told me this and they told me that. Now, the other 30%, it's not that they had a bad experience, it's that they just couldn't understand if they got the connection or not. Some would say, no, nothing. Some would say, I didn't see anything, but I felt emotional. Well, that tells me straight away that they felt, but they didn't see. So that tells me that their senses of feeling, of clairsentience, they felt, but they wasn't as strong with the clairvoyance. but they walked away thinking that they didn't connect. But I know when I read the comments on the meditation that that's not true. If they walked away feeling very, very emotional after doing this meditation, chances are that one of their loved ones stepped in and sent them this loving energy through their heart. Hence why they became emotional, because of the love that was being sent. So what it also tells you is that yes, they did feel something, but they wasn't able to identify that that emotion was love. Understanding that that energy that they were sending was love, and how you have an awareness of the energy and what the energy means to you and how you understand that. So there is ways that you can start to ask these questions to yourself. Are you a medium? Can you see or feel or hear? Do you ever see shadows? Do you ever see orbs? Do you ever see any of these things? Probably the answer to this question is there's at least one thing that you can probably say yes to. Particularly the other one that I mentioned earlier. Do you ever see the faces in your mind when you close your eyes at night? And again, if the answer is yes to this question, then there's a good chance that you're a clairvoyant. There's a very good chance. Now, I'm not saying that every single person that sees pictures in their head is always clairvoyant, but what I am saying is that there's a lot of people out there that don't realize that these pictures, these faces, are spirit. And another way of understanding this too is sometimes they become generational. So they're not always wearing the clothes that we wear today, the modern fashion, etc. They may be wearing clothes from 1900s, 1800s, or even before. And this will help you to understand that sometimes it's not just your imagination. We don't imagine people from 1700. None of us sit there and think, I'm just going to imagine someone from 1700. Of course we don't. This is where spirit starts to come in. But at first, we think that we're daydreaming because we can't put the connection together. We can't put the two and two. Most of us think that the way that it works with spirit work is you expect to see and hear, and that's not always the case. For myself, I didn't put two and two together because I got the pictures, but I got no words. I didn't understand that the pictures was words. I had to understand that the pictures spoke 1,000 words. Again, clairvoyance, images, being the universal language. It makes no difference what country someone comes through or comes from when you're connecting to them through clairvoyance, because you don't have no language barrier, because you just understand images and what they're trying to say. So at first I didn't necessarily put two and two together, that these images meant spirit. I was expecting to hear how you're hearing me, but it wasn't the case. Yes, I do hear, but not the way that you hear me. It's inside my head. It's like a quiet thought that comes inside my head. That's how I hear. So I didn't realize putting the two and two together. So yes, I do feel like there's many, many people out there that have this gift that just don't understand how to use it and how to connect with it. My belief is that we all have an ability in some way to be able to connect to the other side and to connect with that. Now, there is people out there too that prefer doing just the psychic work, and they prefer to do that rather than connecting to spirits for whatever reason of their own. Again, no judgment here. Some people feel like their psychic work stronger than their mediumship work. I've got students too that say that they feel stronger with the mediumship rather than the psychic, and vice versa. So again, when you start to understand what your abilities or gifts are in some way, then you've got to kind of work with that, work to your strengths and kind of work with your weaknesses until you start to understand how the two can work hand in hand. And by working on your strengths, again, that gets better. And working on your weaknesses, again, you're working hard on those. But it's going to take time, it's going to take commitment, and it's going to take work. And it's important to understand too that spirit work takes a lot of commitment. It takes a lot of energy out of you as well. When you do, for myself personally, you can easily burn out. So what I mean by that is, if you was to do too many readings, let's just put an example out there. Say I was to do 8 readings a day, I'd be shattered. Like, I would be absolutely shattered. I did it years ago, and I was working at a local church. I think it was in Nottingham, and they had like a private readings day, and they booked me for 8 private readings, one after another, each one being 30 minutes. I am not exaggerating when I say this. After I finished, I come back, and I remember just kind of collapsing on the sofa, and I felt like I'd been hit by a double-decker bus. It's the only way I can describe it. I was so tired and drawn out. My energy was completely gone. So I'd completely overdone it, well and truly overdone it. And something that I'm aware of, that I never do that many now. I have a limit to how long I work for, or the amount of private readings I do a day, to make sure I don't burn myself out. Because if you burn yourself out, that's it. So you've got to be really careful, because otherwise you're just going to be fatigued and feeling a little bit floaty and a little bit all over the place. You may also feel as well, people that are unsure whether they have this ability out there right now. You might always feel like you don't feel present at the minute as well. There'll be times where you just kind of feel like you're kind of away with the fairies, really. You walk from A to B, don't always know how you get there. You kind of do, but you don't. It's like parts that is missing in the middle, which also tells me that you probably need to ground your energy. And again, there's lots of grounding meditations that you can find as well on YouTube as well. And that just helps to bring your energy level down. We're all spirits. We all want to go back up here, back to the heavens, but it's about bringing our energy back down and just grounding that energy and making yourself just feel less floater, because that's what it feels like. Particularly when you're having a lot like deja vu, so moments of deja vu. I've been here before. I can't seem to connect it why, but I feel like I've been here before, and those moments that just keep coming in all the time. So there'll be lots and lots of little signs that you're on this awakening journey, particularly if you're going through something that we call the dark night of the soul, which I think we spoke about episode 4 or 5, somewhere around there. The dark night of the soul. So again, that deep and difficult awakening process where you have to lose yourself to kind of find yourself again. So like the death and the rebirth, essentially. But in that process, I woke up having a lot of like flashbacks and dreams, dreaming about spirit, dreaming about past lives. I had some crazy experiences in that, absolutely crazy experiences. Some good, some not so good. It's kind of a difficult period to go through. But you have to think of it like this: as light at the end of the tunnel. To come through this phase means that we're on the healing path, because that particular phase is about healing. It's about awakening. To awaken is to heal. And so you have to understand that sometimes we have to walk sometimes this difficult path and deal with things that we don't want to deal with, to start to find this, you know, tunnel of light, to understand that we're on this journey to find this healing, to find this awakening, to find our soul purpose. And your soul purpose may be to connect with people, connect with spirits, to heal people in some way. Many, many years ago, you've probably watched it on many, many programs. There was lots and lots of places where if you were to do this kind of work, tarot work, healing work, mediumship work, any kind, you was considered a witch. You was considered evil, blah, blah, blah. But actually nowadays that the world's woke up, and there's many people waking up spiritually, to understand it's not the way that people perceived it to be. And actually there's a lot of benefits to working with the spirit world, helping the spirit world to pass on messages that they didn't get to pass on. There may have been some sort of sudden passing, for example. And let's just say a dad in spirit wanted to say something, but he never got to say it because of this sudden passing. And again, they'll find a medium that they can come through, and they'll pass that message on to whoever that person is that need that message. So it is kind of a relationship where you have to understand that spirit have got things that they want to say. They watch us, they see our struggles, they want to help us in some way. But you have to understand too that energy never dies. It simply just changes form. That's it. So again, when our loved ones pass over, I understand that the vessel itself dies, but the spirit lives on. As you'll know, reading all the texts and books, the spirit is eternal. It lives on. And there's people out there that obviously, some people are not sure when they've lost people, and they kind of think, I wonder if they're up there. I wonder if they're in what we call heaven. I wonder if they're up there. But that's generally as well when people have those awakening moments, because it's like that telephone line to spirit. Tell me if you're around me. I want to see you and feel you one more time. So it's almost like they've got that telephone line out and they're calling spirit and saying to spirit, send me this sign. Let me know that you're around you. Your perception starts to change. You start to be more open to the spirit world and more open to receiving signs, because we've lost someone and we just want to know they're okay. We just want to know if they've got messages for us. Sometimes those messages may also come in visitation dreams, for example. It could be a day after the past, it could be a week after they passed. And we could, for instance, see like my mum and dad passed. We could see them a week later in a dream where they come through and tell us all the things that we wanted to hear in a dream. So again, called a visitation dream. So it's again a visit by spirit. If you're having all of these things and all these signs around you, there's a good chance that you're probably a medium yourself. And then there's a good chance that you can learn to connect with spirit. I see many conversations online on social media where people think that we're necessarily chosen, if you like. And I think at some point, there's parts of our journey where we are chosen to wake up, I should say. But I also think too that we all have this ability within us. We just need to wake up that ability and understand it, understand that there's things that we can do that we just don't realize, that this as human beings are more powerful than we could ever imagine. And if you understood the power that lies within you right now and you was able to connect with that, the chances are that you could change your life. The amount of people that come onto my mediumship course, not just for the connection to spirit, that's how it starts. They want to develop as a medium, which is great. But they get much more than they bargain for, because they come into the mediumship class, and not only does it help them with their awareness of energy and understanding how spirit works and understanding the messages, but it also gives them more than that. What they start to take from that is a toolkit from the spirit world of understanding how to access all these different things. Now, with that toolkit, one of those things that they can start to access is helping themselves and their own mental health, and understanding how to help themselves and their own mental health through the tools that Spirit gives us, whether it be guidance, whether it be meditation, whatever it might be. There's different parts of advice that they'll give you on the journey, just like they did with me. Mine wasn't just that. Some of it was the way I was thinking. The way I was thinking, I needed to think differently. I had to look at a situation that maybe had given me pain or hurt, and I had to learn to look at it a different way. I had to learn to let go of it. I had to learn to forgive and move on. So some of the tools they teach us is also that too. So it's not just about connecting to spirit, it's also about improving ourselves and becoming the best versions of ourselves that we can. And again, that includes our mental well-being. So understanding that you've got all these tools that you gather through working with the spirit world, and understanding that sometimes it might be just the smallest 10-second message that you get. It could be the smallest little one. And one of them I remember, it's clear as anything, it was quite a long time ago now. It was probably, 5-6 years ago. And I shared about it on, I think it was episode 2 about trauma and awakening. Obviously, I shared with you that I'd gone through trauma and things like that. And Spirit said to me, Carl, although that you are a victim, you don't have to feel like one. kind of thought about it for a second. I thought, I kind of get it. Like, you know, I'm a grown man. And although I understand that I am a victim, I don't no longer have to feel like one. All of a sudden, complete shift. A complete shift in the way that I thought, the complete shift in the way that I felt. Because again, the way that you think is the way that you feel. And all of a sudden, that tiny little bit of advice made the biggest difference. Just those little words. And sorry, it wasn't a tiny bit of advice, but you understand what I'm saying. Sorry. But you understand what I'm saying. Those few words made the biggest difference in my life, and understanding these are part of the toolkits that we gather from working with the spirit world, and understanding that some parts of our journey, we expect it just to be giving messages to people all the time. But you have to understand that through that, we learn ourselves too. Once we learn to connect with spirit and understand spirit, then they can help us too. Problem is that sometimes there's a bit of resistance. There's a bit of resistance, and I remember being the same at one point, not with that part, but with other parts. There could be a little bit of resistance, and we're kind of fighting, and they're trying to encourage us to do one thing, but we're kind of rubbing against the grain. And then we wonder why we're still struggling, but we're kind of working against the grain. So what do you expect? And so really, sometimes it really is about understanding there's guidance for a reason, and we have to start listening to that guidance. If you're somebody right now that's sitting here listening to this podcast thinking, I wonder if I'm a medium. I wonder if I can do this. Well, I really, really encourage you, whether you're on Spotify, Amazon, wherever you might be listening to this, YouTube, I really encourage you to go over to my other social pages where my meditations are, which is YouTube and Spotify. I really encourage you to go there and to try my guided meditations to see if you can start to feel things, if you can start to sense things. How do you feel energy? One journey you will not forget is the crystal cave meditation. That is a tool that I've given you guys to learn to help you to heal yourself. It's an experience that you will not forget, and it's an experience that you'll go there again and again and again. Again, visualization. Again, the other one would be connecting with your loved ones in spirit. And again, I take you on a journey, help you to connect with your loved one, and help you to understand whether it's you feel, you see, or hear. This is the great thing about working on these particular channels. Again, on Spotify and YouTube. This is the great thing about the type of content that I can share on here in comparison to what I can share onto other social media platforms, which is more short form content. You guys get more of a full package. So whether it's the podcast that you're listening to, the meditations that you're listening to, or you're watching me do live readings, which I do also on YouTube as well as TikTok, it will give you an idea as well of where your journey needs to go next. What is it that you need to do? For those of you that are curious and thinking, well, I could do that. My 6-week courses are generally on a Monday from 7 till 10 p.m. UK time zone on Zoom. They're limited places, always limited places. And it is a 6-week course. My next one starting at the last Monday of April. It's when my next one starts, and it runs for 6 weeks. I do know that it will probably get full very, very quickly. Because what happens is that the students I already have, they tend to book up the next ones very, very quickly. So there's not many openings. They go very, very quickly, and it is always first come, first serve. If it's something that interests you, send me a message. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whichever platform. I know that you can't do it through certain channels. You can send me a message through there, and you can inquire about the costs and things like that, blah blah blah, and we can kind of take it from there. But you have to ask yourself that: are you a medium, and are you someone that wants to unlock your own gifts? again, my answer to the question here is I believe that mediumship can be taught. And I have had so many students through my doors have gone away. Some of them are working platforms now up and down the country. I've got another one. Actually, I've got two in America. I've got three in America, but I know one's doing like psychic fairs in America now. Another one should be doing platforms over in America for sure. She's easily good enough. And there's another one that I'm building up each week and each week. So, I've got students in America. I've got students in in the UK. I've had students from Australia. They're all lovely, lovely group to come in together, and I'll help you understand what your gifts are and how we can unlock your gifts. I've had people come to me. I've even had somebody this week. It was their second week on the current mediumship course. And the first week was a difficult one. The second week, they completely smashed it. So it was only their second week doing the course, and they absolutely smashed it on the second week. That's only 2 weeks. 2 weeks. But the techniques that I use, the way that I teach, can help you understand fuller how to tune into your gifts and help you unlock those gifts in the best way you possibly could do. And it will help you to understand too that spirit is a two-way conversation. It's not just them talking to you, it's also you talking to them, asking them questions, which then gives you answers. And one way to understand this too, if you are just clairvoyant and just seeing and not hearing, ask a question in your head and see what picture comes next. And there's a good chance that the picture comes next relates to the question that you asked. So it will help you to understand what answers that you're getting based on the questions that you gave. Okay, and it'll help you to put the two and two together. And by working like this, you'll get more from working with spirit, asking a question, getting it. Well, some of you might just hear, some of you might just feel, but it will help you to understand. When I first started, I wasn't taught to ask any questions to spirit. I was just told, Carl, sit down, meditate, say what you see, and that was that. And whatever came into my head, of course. And yes, I always train the same thing, say what you see. But I also encourage it is a two-way communication between yourself and spirit, pardon me, to get the most out of the experience of connecting with spirit. By doing it this way, you'll find that what you get back is easier to understand rather than just a load of random things, which can sometimes be quite confusing, particularly when you first start. You just think, I don't know what that means. So it will help you to understand that the bits of information you get usually relate to what you're asking. So there'll be tons of people out there, and this might be quite controversial for some, but there'll be tons of people out there that think that you're just born with it. And how do I put this? They may think that they're just born with it, and there's other people out there can't possibly do it. But I believe that we all have the ability to connect with spirit. And so if you have been watching this today, let me know in the comments your thoughts. I'd really love to hear your thoughts on this, whether you're a working medium, whether you're someone that's thinking about doing mediumship and connecting. I would love to know your thoughts. But after working with so many people, from those that have had zero experience to having some experience, realizing that if they've got the commitment and they're willing to work and commit with spirit, then they'll get what they need from it. And that's one thing I know from working. So, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this episode today. I just thought I'd give you something different, something a bit more, answers to the questions in terms of when people talk about it. Well, are you chosen or do we have it? I believe that we all have it. Spirit might choose when to unlock it for you, but we all have the ability. That's my answer. So I hope you all enjoyed it today. I'm Graywolf Psychic Medium. You've been listening to the Spiritual Hour, and I'll see you all again next week. Next episode always comes out on Thursday. Until then, take care.